Hello and welcome back to Adventure's Edge. This is DM Don, and this is going to be a full walkthrough video of how to make a character step by step. I recorded a few other videos that showed you some of the concerns that you needed to have before digging in. This is going to be a speed walkthrough, particularly for my new playtest players, to walk through making a character from start to finish as quickly as I can. So, first things first, you need to go out and get yourself a copy of the character sheet. That is going to be at adventuresedgerpg.com, which here, let me go out to the main page and share my screen. You should see adventuresedgerpg.com. This is the site that contains the wiki that has the full rules. It has the copy of the character sheet. It has example characters of my iconic characters, and it has information about the podcast. So, in the center of the screen down here, you'll see Adventure's Edge role-playing game. This is a link to the full rules. Directly below that is a link to the fillable PDF. So you will need to click on that, make a copy on your local computer, and fill out the copy. Because if you just launch it from here, you will not be able to save it. So make a copy of this before making your character. I have already done that. I have a copy that I've saved to my desktop, and I'm going to open that up now. Then, if you go into the role-playing game rules, and you can see in the chapter 3 here, making a character, it has step-by-step instructions. It might be easier to follow through there other than the video, but I'm going to go as quickly as we can. The first part of the step-by-step instructions are going to tell you to select your race. I'm going to go over and click on the races chapter. Now, there's a number of things in here that you're going to have to make decisions. You have to pick your race. Each race has some unique attributes. I'm not going to read through them all. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick a race, and I've already decided I'm going to pick an elf for my simple character. And I'm going to click down here under elves, where it gives me the information about the elves, the biology, society, how to play an elf, and importantly, it has the racial traits. So now that I have a copy of my character saved to my local computer, I can start filling this out. So we know right away we're making an elf. This elf is going to be level 1. Great. Now I need to record my racial traits. So here on the page, on your first page of the character sheet, you've got race and class traits. This is where you're going to record these. So if you look in the rules under your race, you have a list of traits. Now you can copy and paste these. Like I want to grab my elven connectedness, and I'm going to go over here, pop that in the first line. Now, obviously, there's more to just the short name. You can obviously record shorthand descriptions, whatever you may need to know to remember what each trait is. You can use 2 lines, but you will probably run out of space once you do all the race and class traits. There's also room on the last page of the character sheet where you can add more information. So, like, for example, elves can sense the location of other elves within 50 miles whenever they touch trees. And along with a few other things. So that's one of their features. So then I've got elven immunities. They can give resistance against charm and sleep spells. So I'm going to pop that here. And I could say +5 versus charm and sleep, that type of thing. Okay, great. That's my second one. Natural climbers. Elves get a bonus edge with climbing and move at 3/4 speed instead of half speed. So I could do like +1 edge, climbing, trees, that type of thing. All right. And then what else we got? We've got night vision. There's no dark vision in the game. So the game really gets into visual acuity. I'm not going to cover that here. There's a section in the rules. So there doesn't matter which race you are, there is no dark vision. So you will need torches or lamps or magic light. All right. So that is my list of race traits for the elf. Next thing you're going to need to do is going to be to roll on the height table. So there's only 2 facets to the character that is random. One is your height, and one is how much your starting money is. So you'll see at the top section of the races section here, there is a height chart. And you're going to grab your handy D20. You're going to roll. I rolled a natty 20. That's awesome. Okay, I'm going to be a really tall elf. All right, so look, I'll find the height on the elf column, and I'm going to be 6 foot tall. All right, tell you what, we're going to re-roll because I just want to do a, just explain something. So you can see there's not much of a range here. You can, but I'm going to go ahead and just do 5'8" to explain because I want to make sure I kind of point out everything. So up here, we're going to be 5'8". There's no rolling for the weight. You can choose however much you want to weigh. There's no mechanical benefit or penalty either way. I don't know. He's going to be probably tall and scrawny. We'll say 145. Okay. Now that you have your racial traits and you have your height, now we can go over here to the making the character chapter. Oh, too far. And in this chapter, the next section is going to be determine what your size modifiers are. So once you know your height, you're going to find your height in feet rounded up at the 6-inch mark. Now, this is the only deviation in the entire game where it's not straight round up. Everywhere else, just round up. Here, though, because I'm 5'8", even if I was 5'6", I would round up to 6 on this chart here. So you see, because I'm 5'8", I'm going to find the 6, and I'm going to get these starting height attributes. I have a pace modifier of 2. My starting strength is 11. My starting dex is 9, and I'm a medium-sized creature. Now, there isn't a spot to store that pace mod. I'm going to just plug it right here as a placeholder in stride because it's going to add to your stride. Okay, so that's where you would just temporarily store it. It's the only time you're ever going to need that number. All right, and then my starting strength is going to be 11. My starting dex is going to be 9. And I'm going to scroll down here at the bottom of the race traits section, and you see character size medium. It's already sitting there. Great. That's what I need for race. All right, now making character. Next section, starting languages. I actually think I might have a typo in this section here. Every character starts off knowing a singular language for free. Originally, I had said I think it's your racial language, and I just actually changed that. Everybody starts out knowing the common tongue, which for the land we're starting in, that is Galtia. So down here at the bottom of the skill page, you have known languages. You're all going to speak Galtian. And that might be the only language you get, because any other language you want to know, including like racial languages, you're going to have to purchase. So you need to remember that. Free, Galtian. Fill it in. That's all you need to know. Great. All right. Next up, we've already done this section. We've done our pace mod, strength, dex, size, medium. You can fill in a few of the things at the top here. All right. Now we're going to go to background. So let's go here. So we're going to scroll down to the second page for skills and proficiencies. So in this game, you have a 0 level, which is your background level. Every character is going to get 1 rank in 10 different skills and 1 proficiency in each of those skills. And what this represents is what your character learned through their childhood and adolescence. Like, this kind of defines your idea of your background. So it's not so much as what all you did, it's what you learned growing up. And you could use these if you wanted to write a little, paragraph or so, backstory, and kind of imagine what your character did growing up. So we're making an elf. I was already kind of thinking about it. I'm going to try to pick as complex, so I have a lot of different choices to show. So it's going to be like a forest guardian type elf who is also going to be a priest. So I want to know a lot of different things. So I've got 10 ranks to go here. So let's just go through, and we're going to just go as rapidly as we can. I want to rank in athletics. I want to rank in combat because he learned how to use bows as a kid. I'm going to skip conditioning. I think I'm going to do some crafting. He learned some crafting as a kid or adolescent. I'm going to pick discipline. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Some general knowledge. I'm going to do linguistics. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I think that we're going to do some perception. That's going to be 7. Some spellcraft. That's going to be 8. Let's see. Maybe some nature knowledge because, elfie. That's 9. And maybe some survival. That's going to be 10. All right. Now I get to pick a proficiency in each one of these categories. So proficiency is it does one of two things for you. It either gives you a bonus edge when you roll on that skill, if you're doing what that proficiency is for, or it negates an edge penalty, which I think pretty much only applies to weapons. So in the game, if you go to use, you can pick up any weapon you want. Doesn't matter what training you have, and you can try to hit somebody with it because that's how the world works. But if you don't have any training in it, you're going to suck. So each of these weapons categories, if you are not trained in it and you try to use the weapon, you're at -1 edge. If you have the training, you're not at the -1 edge. I believe in almost every other case, if you attempt to do it, you're at just +1 edge. So combat is a little different from the other ones. So we're going to say I learned how to use bows. Okay, athletics, what do we do? What is my guy doing for athletics? He probably did some climbing, did some tree climbing. Crafting, I want to make some potions, so we're going to do craft alchemy. Discipline, so this is going to be a weird one. I do need to point out right now that next to some skills, you're going to see either 1 or 2 asterisks. If a skill has an asterisk next to it, that means you need to have a minimum of 5 ranks to get that proficiency. And if it has 2 asterisks, you need to have 10 ranks to take that proficiency. So that precludes taking a number of these different proficiencies at lower levels. Now, you'll see in a second that certain classes, you're going to start with class skills that give you 5 ranks, which unlocks some of those proficiencies at first level. So for an example, if I wanted to take poison resistance, I would need to have 5 ranks in conditioning, which I do not, so it's locked off. All right, so discipline. You see there's a number of disciplines like frenzy and willpower, mind block. They require 5 ranks. I don't have them. What I do want to do is I want to take adept powers. This is probably a weird thing to take in adolescence because we're going to explain adept powers in just a minute. But my elf priest, I think he's going to be a priest, is going to be unusually trained. All right, general knowledge. What does he know? I think he learned some etiquette. All right, then we're going to scroll down. Linguistics. I am going to have him know Elven. Nature knowledge. Probably plants. And perception. We're going to do direction sense. Spellcraft. So he started learning some spells early, and we're going to do attunement. He learned how to use some magic items when he was young. And then survival, I think we're going to do orienteering. All right. So now that I have my 10 ranks and my 10 proficiencies, I could concoct a little backstory, like what type of person learned this collection of skills, and I can go with it. So that's going to be your background. So everybody gets 10 different skills, 10 proficiencies. Some races get a couple extra. Humans get 1 extra rank every level, including their background level. They don't get a bonus proficiency, but they do get a bonus skill rank. So they'll have 11 ranks. So you will see that. Pay attention for that. All right, so that's going to be my background, ranks, and proficiencies. So in the section here under Building Brawn, it kind of summarizes what Brawn did and filled this out and moved on. I should point out, I didn't do known regions for my character. Maybe I'll do that for first level. But I will point it out on the sheet because I'm trying to cover everything. Because there are a couple spots on the sheet under general knowledge. You know what? Let's just do that. I'm gonna uncheck etiquette, and I'm gonna do regions. So what this is this basically gives you a bonus edge on knowledge checks to specific regions. Clear with your game master what you want. You can pick like your hometown, maybe the little forest he grew up in. They're supposed to be smaller, isolated regions. You can pick a large city, and that gives you kind of broad categories of knowledge. Or you could pick like really small, tight areas. You could pick riverways. There's a lot of things you can know. So I don't know what forest he's from yet, but we're gonna call it the home forest, and we're gonna come back to that. So he does know a lot about where he's from. Okay, now jump back to the rules. Ooh, time flies, doesn't it? All right, so we're gonna pick our class. So obviously picking is going to be one of the time sucks because you got to decide what you want to be. We sort of talked it over with our home, together with this our startup crew for the play test. But once you decide your class, you will need to then go to the class section. We're going to flip ahead to chapters to classes. and you need to pick your class. There's 3 broad categories of classes. You get your fighter, rogues, and magic users. I'm going to go down to magic users, and I think I'm going to select priest because they have a lot of different choices. Things you need to look for: ability score requirements. I need to have 12 charisma, 12 intelligence, 12 wisdom. So I need to make a point of that. And then I'm going to get my class skills and class proficiencies. Now these are going to add up to 10, but some of these are going to be dictated. So for example, let's go ahead and fill these out. As a priest, I get 5 influence, and I have to pick diplomacy and leadership. So let me bring this up. Go to influence. It's a class skill, 5. And because it's a class skill, I'm going to put this little checkbox there. And then I'm going to select diplomacy and influence. Sorry, diplomacy and what did I say? Leadership. Sorry. Diplomacy and leadership. All right, great. Then next up, I'm going to get occultism knowledge and religions. So occultism knowledge, I'm going to put this little checkbox here. It's class skill. I'm getting 5 ranks in that. And religions. All right, great. Next up, I get perform 5 and public speaking. So let's go here, perform 5, public speaking. Doink. All right, great. And then I get spellcraft 5 plus, okay, let's do that. I'm going to do spellcraft 5. I already have 1 ranked there, so now that's going up to 6. And then I get 6 skill ranks to be placed in 6 different skills, but not one of those 4, plus 4 additional proficiencies in any skill with at least 1 rank. I think I need to specify that. You can only have, you can't exceed proficiencies in a skill, then you have skill ranks. So if you only have 1 skill rank in a skill, you can only have up to 1 proficiency. If you have 2 skill ranks in a skill, you can get 2 proficiencies. If you have 6 proficiencies in a skill, 6 skill ranks in a skill, you could get 6 proficiencies. All right, so I have 6 more skill ranks and 4 proficiencies to allocate. Let's go over here. So now I need to think about, what am I going to do with my other 6 ranks? Well, let's see. Let's go ahead and do 1 more in survival. So that's 1. I think I'm going to go ahead and do 1 in perception. That's 2. Let's do a little more linguistics. That's 3. Do another discipline. That's 4. Do another crafting. That's 5. Do another combat. That's 6. Now I have 4 proficiencies. What do I want to pick? I think even though I'm thinking I'm going to be a priest, I think I want to be able to use some weapons too. So there's no priestly weapons in the game. Priests are magic users. You're going to find out that a lot of the tropes have been sort of flipped on their head a little bit. I'm going to pick one-handed blades. It's always good in hand. So I've got 3 more proficiencies. I already know I'm good at alchemy. I'm going to pick another under discipline. I'm going to pick another adept power. So that is 2. Now I have 2 more to pick. I know what I want. I want to go under spellcraft because I want arcane armor so I can not have penalties for wearing some basic armor. I've got 1 more proficiency. And I think I'm going to pick do something under occultism knowledge, maybe. What have I studied? How about, I don't know. You know what? I'm going to go under influence. I'm going to pick gather info. I think this guy's going to be a talker. Okay, so that's all my skills and proficiencies. So what I could then do, my skill ranks is 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. You get the point. All right, great. What's next? I need to copy my my class skills, my class abilities over to the front page. So what do I have? I've got Divine Aura, Faith, High Magic. So let's go back to the front here, right? So Divine Aura. Now I'm going to point out Faith here in a second because Faith is my F attribute. Every class has an F attribute. It's explained, but you'll see it here at the top right corner of your sheet. You have a little F here, and this is editable. So I have Faith. You got to have faith. All right. And you're going to start with 1, and that will be explained. Okay, great. So what did I say? I've got faith, high magic, and sacred authority and domain blessings. All right. Faith, high magic, Sacred authority, divine blessings, and I also have a miracle. Okay, great. And that's my class. Now, again, I would want to go ahead and probably make some little shorthand notes about what each of those are, either here or on the back page. So the next step is going to be filling in all the extra details, and I need to go ahead and pick some stats because that's going to be the next step in the process. Now, everybody starts out with 10 and everything, unless it was adjusted by your starting. So we're going to do this real quick. Just fill that in so you can kind of see what we're talking about. So stats, it's point allocation. You get 20 points, and you can raise and lower. You can raise or lower all of your stats except for luck. You can raise luck. You cannot lower luck. You must start with 10. Okay. So I have 20 points now, and I know I need 12 in intelligence, 12 in wisdom, and 12 in charisma. Now, I know I want to be smart because I'm a priest, but also I'm a magician. So I'm going to want a 16 intelligence. There's a couple reasons for that. That obviously lets me unlock higher level spells because what ends up... I did this again, didn't I? Why did I do that? This is not where your stats go. So sorry. I don't know why I did that. That's where your stat bonuses go. That is where your luck goes. So luck is 10 and 10. Okay, so intelligence is going to determine the highest level spell you can cast for magic users, but your intelligence bonus also gives you bonus low magic spells. So the higher intelligence bonus you have, the better if you're going to want to do some spell casting. So that cost me 6 points. I have 20 to spend. I know I need at least 12 in wisdom and 12 charisma. So we'll do 12 wisdom. I may come back to that. That's 8 points. I think I want to be charismatic. That's going to be 12 points though. And I know I want to be dexterous. So here's what I'm going to do. I've used 12 points. I'm going to lower my strength down to 10. So that gives me 13 points left. And back down to 12. I think I'm going to try to be super dexterous. So we're going to do this. I have 6 points left, right? 6, 12, 14, 15, 16, 17. No, I have 3 points left. All right, this is where you got to do the math. All right, let's double check. 6, 8, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. That adds up to 20 points. Okay, so now I can fill in my bonuses. There is a chart there, but this is going to be the kind of what you're used to. A 10 gives you a 0, a 16 gives you a 3, a 12 gives you a +1, intelligence gives you +3, 16, 3, 1, 2. And again, luck is different because this is a pool. Okay, now that I have all of that, I can fill in most of the rest of the sheet. Okay. Whew. So strength attack. So all of your attacks can be based upon the ranks in combat or your ranks in spellcraft. So I've got 2 combat attacks. So down here under combat, I have 2 ranks in combat. So the way that works is you divide your ranks in combat by 2. So 2 divided by 1 gives me a +1. Plus my strength is 0. So my strength attack is a 1. My dex attack is going to be a 1 + 3 is 4. Now my spell attack, I know I've got 6 ranks in spellcraft, so that gives me a +3. My intelligence is +3, so I'm going to have a 6 spell attack, which is pretty good. Okay, my lift, there is a chart. It's 20 times your strength. This is pretty easy math, so 20 by 20 times 10 is 200. That's how much you can just lift off the ground. Your DB is equal to your dexterity stat plus any armor. Now, I'm going to buy some armor. So if I wasn't going to get armor, it would be a 16. Now, I know I'm going to buy some equipment later that's going to speed that up. So in my head, I'm thinking I'm going to get him a gambeson. That's the woven linen cloth armor, and that works for being a magician. So that is a +4 to DB. Now I just know that. You'll have to look that up. You could just start by putting what you have in there. I'm going to go ahead and put my 20 here though, just to speed things up. Your parry is your DB plus half your ranks in combat. For me, that's going to be just a bonus of 1. Because remember, it's divide by 2 round up. So if you only have a 1 in something, divided by 2, round up is a 1. So my parry is a 21. My dodge is going to be my, how many ranks in athletics do I have? I only have 1 rank in athletics, so it's a 1. So my dodge is going to be a 21 also. I probably not going to have a shield. That's just going to be a 0. Your move, okay, let's go up here to your stride. Your stride is how far you, how basically your base speed in feet. So your stride is your dexterity stat plus your modifier. Now I jotted that 2 down here, so I know it's going to be 16 plus 2. This is a 1 time, so I'm going to just go ahead and change that to 18. That's there. If my dexterity ever increases, because you do get stat bonuses over time, you would just add to that. So I don't have to remember that too, but you can always go look up the chart. Now, once you have your stride, you can get your move. Now, your move is how many spaces you move in combat as a move, like a move action. So your move action, because they're 5-foot squares, is your stride divided by 5, rounded up. I have an 18 stride, divided by 5, rounded up is 4. Okay, your hit points. Your hit points is your constitution stat. There are 2 proficiencies that can increase that, each by 3 points. You'll find those in the conditioning section, but both of those require at least 5 ranks in conditioning. So only a few classes start out with class skills of that. So very few people except the armsmen and some of the marshals are going to get those at the beginning. So that means my magician only is going to have 12 hit points. Your resistance to poison or disease is your constitution stat unless you have some bonuses from race or items or whatever. So right now I have neither, so those are both of the 12s. Magic is how much magic per day you have. That is your intelligence. Like hit points, there are 2 proficiencies that can boost that up. I don't have those yet. I could have taken them because as a priest, I do have access because I do have 6 ranks in spellcraft, but I didn't take them because I took 2 other skills. Your resistance versus spells is your intelligence. Again, these can be increased by other features. Your power is your wisdom. Power is like your intrinsic ability to cast adept powers. So we'll explain more about that later. Leadership, you see where this is going, 14. That's going to be how many leadership points you have to get hirelings. Spirit is how many points of spirit, which is your how much you can get drained before you die. And versus drain is your resistance to that happening. Okay, so all of that's filled out, making good progress here. We can try to wrap this up as quick as we can. The next step would be to go through and do the math. Now, each skill has 2 stats that do your stat bonuses. So in this case, like arcane knowledge is intelligence and wisdom. Now again, rounding up. So I have a 16 intelligence, which is a +3. And I have a +1 wisdom. So I'm averaging a 3 and a 1, which is a 2. So all of my intelligence wisdoms are going to be 2. So 2, 2, 2, 2. See where that's going? Someday we will have a fillable sheet that does the math for us. All right. So hopefully that makes sense. Strength and dex, you can see that. I may just go ahead and fill these out after the fact. So strength and dex. So 3 plus 0 is going to be 3 divided by 2 would be 1.5. Rounded up is 2. So that's kind of cool. So my strength dex is a 2. All right, you see where that's going. Hopefully that all makes sense. Let me just go ahead and do one real quick over here. So perception, because I want to put this on the front page, is 2 plus 2 is 4. That's my skill total. So whenever I'm rolling on something, this is what I'm going to be rolling. There are some cases where your ranks matter. And there's some cases where your total matters. The reason I did perception real quick, because I got a 4, is I actually have a spot on the front page there because that comes up a lot, and just having perception right there is handy. All right, I can go ahead and fill in my initiative. Initiative is your wisdom bonus plus your dex bonus. So that's 3 plus 1. That's 4. And that is, go here, fill that in. I don't have a name yet. And that is most of the top stuff. I've got all my race class abilities. This is all things that will come later based upon you taking damage and bleeding. This is going to be based on what equipment you buy. I already know I'm going to buy heavy gambeson. I can go ahead and just kind of jump ahead and cheat there, and I know my DR is going to be 4. Okay. Whew. Now, page 2, that's also done. I know I've got my home stuff, my starting language. I did take that, Sylvan. All right. Now you have a couple other things to do. There's going to be the equipment that you'll have to buy. Everybody starts out with 300 silver crowns plus 5d20. So it's somewhere between 305 and 400 silver crowns. That's the only other time you get to roll. And you'll use that to buy all your equipment. There's a whole equipment chapter. You get the clothes on your back for free, and you get one starting fine piece of equipment, an heirloom piece of equipment that is explained in there. It can be worth up to 100 silver crowns. If you want something more expensive, you can add to that kitty from your starting money to get something a little more expensive. The reason for that is that you can enchant fine weapons, fine equipment later. I'm not going to get too deep into that now. The thing I do want to point out is once you record your items here, let me just do one item. I don't remember I think they cost 60, but you put the value, and then you'll see you've got a little size drop down for all of your equipment. So like heavy gambeson is a large item, right? So what you're going to do, you've got this little drop down. This has to do with encumbrance, and this is critical because how much you can carry, it really matters. Every character can carry without penalty a number of small items equal to their strength stat. Now, my character is going to be scrawny and squishy and weak with a 10 strength, which means my light load is only 10. My medium load is going to be double that. That's 20. Math is easy when it's on 10s, right? And then 30 and then 40. So I really can't carry a lot of stuff. You'll see here there's a little conversion chart. What you're adding up here is the size equivalent of small items. So instead of doing 3 pounds and 1 pound and 7 pounds and all that, it's size equivalent of small items. So one large item is the same as 2 medium items, which is the same as 4 small items. So by putting that gambeson on, if that was just all I had on my body, I'd be carrying 4. I'd be good. Obviously, that's not all I'm going to have. So everything you have is going to have a size equivalent. You're going to add all those up and determine what that number is, and then you're going to determine what your penalty is. So if I was carrying 11 to 20 size equivalent, I'd be at a -2. I guarantee you, unless you're really, really big and beefy, you're going to be encumbered. So you're going to want to have packs and bags because you're going to be dropping that stuff or leaving it at camp. So generally speaking, you don't want to be going into combat with your giant backpack filled with all your crap. That stuff you're going to drop before you get into combat because it just makes more sense. So whatever money you have left over, you'll record here. And you can use these little trackers here to keep track of your ammunition. If you buy 20 arrows or whatever, you can use these little toggles. Hit location and wound section. You do have hit location DB. So this might be a little confusing, but your armor protects different sections of your body. So in this case, your base DB is your DB. So right, so my base DB without armor is my dexterity bonus. If I wasn't wearing anything, it'd be a 16. If I throw a gambeson on and nothing else, I would have a 16 all the way down, and then I would have a 20 wherever the gambeson covers. And that does say what it protects. So the gambeson protects the chest, back, abdomen, upper legs, and upper arms. So let's just say I didn't have anything else on. I would do like 16 there, and then my upper legs are going to be the 20. See how that's going? That should make perfect sense, right? Not going to have anything there. And then my upper arms, because it kind of goes down, it's going to be 20. I don't have any neck protection. I don't have a, chainmail coif. I don't have a helmet yet. Probably won't have any of those as a priest, but you might. So if you buy some heavy boots, you're going to have some feet protection. If you don't, if you're like, well, I'm wearing shoes, it's going to be a 16. All right. So that's how that's going to work. So your gloves. So this matters when you get hit by critical hits, and that's when that comes into play. Okay. We're going to try to wrap this up because this is already running. We're almost at that 30-minute mark. Okay. So now the last page, though, is your spell powers and combat styles. This is where, depending on your selections, you may or may not have stuff here. Chances are very good you will. So let me just explain what's going to go down there. I'm going to start out with combat styles. For every rank in combat you get, regardless of class, you automatically get a combat style. There's a whole chapter on them, and some of them have prerequisites. Basically, they're different moves you can do in combat other than I just hit something. Now, as a priest, I'm going to have, just two ranks in combat. I'm going to have 2 combat styles. You're probably going to want to pick the basics if you're in this boat where you're not going to be doing anything fancy. Punching is a combat maneuver, right? So you probably want to start with some of the basics like punching, maybe kicking, because by default, not everybody can throw a punch. If you don't have the punching combat maneuver and you want to throw a punch, you're at -1 edge. Anybody can try to punch somebody, but unless you've actually practiced it, as in real life, you're not any good at it. So note to self then, look at that list, make sure you see what you want to be good at. Because if you're playing a martial character like an armsman, you're going to have 6 ranks in combat, which means you're going to have by default 6 different combat maneuvers. Plus, many of the classes get what's called the advanced combat style, which is an additional 5. So, for example, if you're an armsman, I think a brawler gets it. Quite a few get it. You're probably going to be starting out with 11 different combat maneuvers. So you'll need to go through at the bottom of that chapter. There are some example styles if you're just needing some inspiration. So you can go through and look at that and just get an idea of how to build a style. But again, this is really all up to you. It doesn't matter. I do have some explanations, but again, at the bottom, you can kind of see, like here, I've got a boxer, I've got a striking martial artist, like somebody who does karate or Krav Maga, Muay Thai. If you want to be a fencer or fighting man, those are some suggestions to put together to create the style. It really kind of, descriptively, if somebody's watching you fight, they would kind of know how your character was trained. And these are all different moves you can do in combat other than I hit somebody. So that is combat styles. So that's a 1-to-1 based on your ranks in combat, +5 if you've got the advanced combat style. All right, the next thing you're going to get potentially under discipline, if you put ranks in adept powers, you can unlock special adept powers. There's a whole chapter on that. Because I did that, my character's going to have 2 adept powers. There's tons of really cool adept powers. And these are all sort of like these intrinsic quasi-martial physical maneuvers like wall running or water running or flips or jumps. Your like wire fooey maneuvers. Whatever you can imagine. There's like 100 different adept powers broken into 3 schools. So look through them. If you pick one school, there's some benefits by just... I think if you get all from one school, you can get some unlocks at the higher level, some higher powers. So those are really fun. And those use your power ability. That's based on your wisdom. Okay, so you have to pick those. And then under spellcraft, this is where you get your spells. So in the game, I think I've already mentioned, there's low magic and high magic. Only your magic users can get high magic spells. And these are basically spell lists. Everybody else can learn low magic spells. Fighter, you want to learn a low magic spell, you can do it. Only requirements, you need to have a minimum of 12 in intelligence, and you need to have a rank in spellcraft. That's it. So you have 12 intelligence, you put a rank in spellcraft, bam, you start out knowing a spell. So even your typical fighter types could easily start out with 2 ranks in spellcraft. You can start out knowing 2 spells. So you'll need to look through the low magic spells. Now, the next thing is true for everybody because it is not restricted to a 1-to-1 for low magic. You actually learn a number of low magic spells equal to your intelligence stat bonus. So if you have a 12 intelligence, that's 1, which is where the 1 comes from. If you have a 14 intelligence and you put a rank in spellcraft, you learn 2 low magic spells. See where I'm going? 16, you learn 3. So if you're thinking, well, I want to be a fighter, but I want to just have a lot of cool spells, bump up that intelligence, get a 16. Then what you could do, get a rank in your background, throw it into spellcraft, and then a rank at first level. You could start out with 6 low magic spells. Pretty neat, huh? So that is the advantage of being smart because you can learn more spells. Now this is true also for the magicians. So when magicians learn spell lists are always 1-to-1, but the trick with the spell list is that as you level up, it automatically unlocks more spells at higher levels. So if I put, like here in my priest, I've got 6 ranks in spellcraft. I could get 6 spell lists. So at first level, I'll have 6 spells, but at 5th level, those 6 spells are going to automatically turn into 12 because it's going to unlock the 2nd level spells in that list, and so forth. So every like 5 levels, you get the next level spell that's automatic. But even magicians can learn the low magic spells. And the advantage to that is that there's a lot of the low magic spells that aren't necessarily reproduced on the high levels, on the high magic spells. And also it allows you to sort of diversify early on. So I could say, since I do have a 16, I could say, well, let me go and spend 1 of my 6 ranks on low magic. I'll get 3 low magic spells, and then I'll spend the other 5 on high magic lists. And then I can start with 8 spells versus 6. I could choose to say, well, maybe I'll just dip and I'll get 6 low magic spells and 4 lists. That's when you start to decide pros and cons. So you'll need to look at the spells. You have to look at the low magic spells and you have to look at the high magic spells. So you'll have to fill all those things in, and that's a lot of choices, right? Because there's a bunch to look at. All that's going to be filled in on the back page. I'm not going to walk you through that because it's already long. So that is how to build a character sheet. I think everything else will kind of make sense. Once you purchase your equipment, there are spots for recording, and so you'll record your weapons armor on your back page, but you're going to also want to record the shorthand notes of your weapons armor on the front, so you know what weapons you have at hand for figuring out your attacks and what armor you have for your defense. So hopefully all that makes sense. I'm going to stop now because I've already talked longer than I needed to. And if you have questions, continue to hit me up. All right, guys. Looking forward to it. Thanks.